Hello, my friends. My name is David R. Wright. I am the Motor City Hypnotist. And as you can see, the title of today's presentation is How to Silence Anxiety and Panic Attacks in the Next 12 Weeks without white-knuckling your way through another breathing exercise that only works for 10 minutes, even if you've struggled with anxiety for years and secretly believe your brain is just wired wrong. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So really quickly, let me tell you who this is for so you know if you are in the right place. This is for any driven, capable adult, the business owner stressed about making payroll, the professional experiencing constant pressure to perform, or the parent everyone else leans on even though you can barely lean on yourself, who's secretly living with chronic anxiety and panic and wants to reclaim every place, person, and possibility fear has quietly fenced off, even if you've already tried therapy, medication, and every app on your phone, and you still feel stuck. If you are canceling plans just to feel safe, waking up at 3 a.m. with your heart slamming in your chest, and just saying, I'm fine, while you're quietly and terrified inside, and you're not sure how to feel genuinely calm in your own skin again, this presentation has the power to change your relationship with your own mind and your life. So, in the next 30 minutes, here's what we're going to talk about: how to go a full week without a single panic attack in as little as 90 days, without forcing yourself to just breathe through it. And even if medication and talk therapy have only ever taken the edge off. Those two, the real reason your panic keeps ambushing you out of nowhere, in the checkout line, on the highway, in the middle of the night, and what you can do to start turning this around today, even if you've convinced yourself this is just who you are now. And third, why learning to manage your anxiety is the worst possible way to break free from panic for good, and a radical neuroscience-backed approach that works much, much faster. We're also going to talk about how to pinpoint exactly what your own nervous system is really trying to protect you from, even if that feels like a total mystery right now. We're going to talk about how to go from a life that shrinks a little more every month and every day to saying yes to the trip, yes to the dinner, yes to the drive across town, and your family can stop walking on eggshells around you. And finally, how to do all of this without reliving every painful memory, without endless coping strategies that you have to white knuckle through, and without ever again believing you're broken. So I want to make a promise to you right now: a step-by-step strategy for silencing anxiety and panic attacks in the next 12 weeks without white knuckling your way through a bunch of exercises or other strategies. But before we get into that, let me just check in with you real quickly to see where you're at. And let me ask you some questions. Do you run a mental body scan first thing every morning, checking your chest, your breathing, your heart rate, before your feet even hit the floor, bracing for whether today's a bad anxiety day? Have you quietly built an invisible rule book? The highways you won't drive, the restaurants where the exit's too far, the plans you cancel last minute, and told yourself it's just my preference? Do you sit across from someone you love and feel completely alone in this because no matter how you explain it, they just don't understand why you just can't relax? Do you rehearse an escape route the second you walk in anywhere? The table by the door, the aisle seat, the excuse you'll use to leave before you've even taken your coat off? Do you lie awake, Googling your symptoms, half convinced that this time with the racing heart or the tight chest means something is actually physically wrong with you? Have you started calling yourself a homebody when the truth is it's not that you don't want to go, it's that you're afraid of what your body will do if you do go? And most of all, are you secretly terrified that this is who you'll always be and that you're doomed to have anxiety and panic running the show for the rest of your life. Well, if any of that sounds like you, then I actually have good news because none of those things are the real problem. Here's the real problem. You haven't made what I call the shifts. And we'll talk about what those are in just a moment. But for right now, understand this. You'll wake up and your first thought won't be, how bad is it today? It'll just be morning, quiet, ordinary. And you'll live in a body that finally feels like a safe place to be. You'll pull onto the highway, merge into traffic, and realize 20 minutes later that you never once thought about the exit because your hands were steady the whole way. You'll sit at a full dinner table in the middle of a room, laughing at something your kid said, fully present, not half lost managing an emergency no one else can see. You'll say yes to the invitation before your brain has time to build its list of reasons to say no, and you'll actually go, and you'll be glad that you did. You will feel your whole body settle when something goes sideways instead of spiraling, because calm has become your default, not your goal. And you'll do all of this while your spouse and your family get their husband, their wife, their parent back, and watch you become brave again. So now let me quickly introduce myself so you know who I am and that I know what I'm talking about. My name is David R. Wright. I'm a licensed professional counselor and a certified hypnotherapist. I am currently the owner and clinical director of Counseling and Therapy Associates. We're an outpatient mental health and hypnosis clinic located just south of Detroit. And here I see people daily and help them with anxiety using the techniques that we're going to learn. Over 33 years I've been in practice, and I've helped thousands of people walk back into the places that had been fenced off and become their own source of calm. The vast majority did this even if they hadn't had a panic attack for 20 plus years, even if medication and therapy had failed them, and even if they were convinced they were beyond help. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how they did it. For decades, I've worked with people to break free from anxiety and panic. And in that time, I saw something that fascinated me. I saw people who created an incredible recovery. People who went from household or housebound to boarding planes, from dreading the grocery store to leading meetings, calm in their own skin for the first time in many, many years. And meanwhile, I saw others who stayed trapped. Good, smart, deserving people whose worlds just kept shrinking year after year until survival was the best that they hoped for. And so I began to really study the ones who broke free, the ones who could walk into anything and stay calm and reclaim the life they'd lost without white-knuckling it, and even if they'd suffered for decades. And I realized there were 5 very specific things they had done. So I built those 5 shifts into my own work, and almost immediately the results changed. Then I started integrating them into everything I did with clients, and I watched them break free from panic they've carried for a lifetime so they could finally live instead of just surviving. So here's the bottom line. There are 5 shifts you need to make in order to reclaim the life anxiety has been quietly stealing, even if you felt this way for as long as you can remember, and without living the rest of your life one panic attack away from your next retreat. I'm going to walk you through all 5 of them right here on this presentation. Shift number 1, the first shift you need to make to start feeling safe in your own body again is get curious, not calm. Now, what do I mean when I say that? Curiosity is the foundation of every real recovery from anxiety. If you're not building your recovery on curiosity, you're setting yourself up to stay trapped in the exact loop you're trying to escape. Here's why. When panic hits and your only goal is to make it stop, you flee, you distract, you brace, and every time you do, you teach your brain that the threat was real. But when you get curious, when you turn toward the sensation instead of away from it, the alarm loses its charge because curiosity and terror cannot live in the same body at the same time. Now, the problem is that the way most people relate to their own fear is hopelessly broken. Most anxiety sufferers spend every day at war with their own nervous system, fighting the feeling, suppressing it, distracting from it, white-knuckling it until it passes, then dreading the next time. Fear becomes the enemy, and the whole day becomes a battle not to feel it. When you do the things this way, you send your brain one message on repeat. That sensation is dangerous, and I barely survived it. You reinforce the very alarm you're so desperate to shut off, and the panic gets louder, not quieter. The right way is to become a scientist of your own experience. Instead of running from the racing heart or the tight chest, you get curious about it. You notice it, name it, study it, and ask, what is my nervous system trying to protect me from right now? This isn't positive thinking, and it isn't pretending. It's the single most counterintuitive truth in anxiety recovery. The sensations you've been fighting are not dangerous. They're information. The moment you stop treating your body as an enemy and start treating it as an overprotective friend that learned the wrong lesson, the fear begins to dissolve on its own. When you do this, you'll feel the alarm quiet, not because you forced it down, but because you finally stopped feeding it. In recovery, curiosity is everything. Without it, you'll keep fighting your own body, you'll keep shrinking your world, and keep proving to your brain that the fear was justified. But with curiosity, the sensations lose their grip, the panic loses its fuel. And for the first time, probably in years, you get to be at peace inside of your own skin. So let me bring you to the second shift. This is shift number 2. Anxiety is not a character flaw. It's a learned alarm. Here's what almost no one has ever told you. Your anxiety is not a weakness, a flaw, or a life sentence. It's not proof that something is wrong with you. It is a learned protective response, a nervous system that got trained through experience to read safe as dangerous and hit the alarm anyway. The racing heart in the grocery store isn't your brain malfunctioning. It's your brain doing its number one job, keeping you alive. A little too well, based on old information it was never corrected on. And here's the part that changes everything. What was learned can be retrained. So here's how to make this shift. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? A question that keeps you feeling broken and powerless, you start treating every spike of panic as a false alarm from an overprotective system. And you answer it with a proof of safety instead of fear. This changes everything because the second you stop believing you're broken, you stop trying to fix a person and start retraining a pattern. You're no longer a victim of your anxiety. You're the one holding the controls because you decide what your nervous system learns next. So let me tell you about a client. This client's name was Julie, and we'll just use names to protect confidentiality, of course. Our client, Julie, came to us. She was a business owner who hadn't driven on the freeway in probably a few years. She was dealing with nightmares, panic so constant she'd stopped leaving her side of town. Her dream was simple, to feel normal again. She'd wasted years and thousands of dollars trying therapy. She was on medication. She'd read countless self-help books, and of course, none of it stuck. And by the way, we'll talk about why none of those things worked in the next shift. We told her to stop trying to fix herself and to start treating every wave of panic as a false alarm to be retrained, not a flaw to be ashamed of. She thought it sounded backwards, but she was willing to give it a shot. Almost right away, Julie felt something she hadn't felt in years. The panic came, and instead of bracing for it, she got curious about it. And it passed faster than it ever had before. And today, she's driving on the freeway again. She's going back out in public without reservations. She has no issues with travel. The relief didn't stop at her anxiety either. She described a whole improved relationship with her friends, with her family, with her children. She started sleeping through the night and she became present with the people around her. So here's the bottom line. If you want to break free from panic, you have to understand this one reframe. You are not broken. Your alarm is miscalibrated. This is the single thing anxiety sufferers almost never grasp. I want you to grab a hold of this, and you'll stop fighting yourself, start feeling in control of your own body again, and you can watch your world begin to expand instead of shrink. And you'll rediscover something you thought you'd lost for good: hope. And that brings me to the next shift, which is to use what I call the secret weapon. Here it is: subconscious nervous system retraining using clinical hypnosis to reach the exact part of the brain where the alarm actually lives. This is the single most powerful way to quiet panic before it starts. You're going to be able to walk into situations that used to level you. It'll enable you to sleep through the night again. And when you're under hypnosis, you're wide awake, you're fully in control the whole time, and it works even if you've never been hypnotized before, and even if you're the most skeptical person you know. But before we talk about what works, let's talk about what doesn't, because there are probably some things you've tried or are considering that haven't worked and can't work. And I want you to hear from me right now. If you've tried this stuff and gotten nowhere, it's not your fault. Conventional wisdom is a recipe for conventional results. Everybody tells you that if you want to stop the anxiety, you need to white knuckle through another breathing exercise. Download a meditation app. Talk about it in therapy for years. Manage it with medications. Avoid every trigger just in case. Repeating positive affirmations in the mirror. Pouring a glass of wine or another drink to take the edge off. And just wait for it to pass on its own. And then maybe you'll feel better. Here's why this is just dumb. Every one of those is aimed at the conscious mind or a symptom. But your anxiety doesn't live there. It lives in the subconscious nervous system. So you can do all of it perfectly and still have panic in aisle 7. Most of these are just sophisticated forms of avoidance and coping. And every time you cope your way through a moment, instead of retraining the alarm, you quietly confirm to your brain that the situation really was dangerous. So the pattern gets stronger, not weaker. Another reason why it's dumb is they treat curiosity, insight, and understanding as the finish line. But you can understand exactly why you're anxious, trace it to childhood, name every trigger, but still have full-blown panic attacks hours later. Insight alone never rewired a single nervous system. Here's another reason. The old way quietly teaches you that you'll be managing this forever, that the best you can hope for is a lifetime of coping tools, escape plans, and white knuckling. That belief is the real prison. And honestly, it's a lie. So does this make sense? Picture a smoke alarm that's been wired to scream every time you make toast. The fire isn't real, but the alarm doesn't know that. Now picture everyone's advice Here are some earplugs, medication. Here's a breathing app to calm you while it shrieks. Here's a therapist. And whatever you do to stop making the toast is avoidance. Nobody thinks to just walk over and recalibrate the alarm. That's the old way in one image, exhausting, endless, and aimed at everything except the one thing that could actually fix it. So if that doesn't work, then what does? You don't need one more app or one more year on the couch or one more book. What you need to do is to retrain the alarm itself at the subconscious level where it actually lives. It works like this: crack the code, calm on command, rewire the alarm, reclaim your life. This works because it doesn't manage your anxiety, cope with it, or ask you to avoid your life. It goes straight to the pattern driving the panic, and it teaches your nervous system the one thing every myth left out: you are safe. So first, we crack the code. Let me tell you what that means. You finally understand exactly how your anxiety was built and map your specific triggers. So panic stops feeling like an ambush and starts making sense without having to relive every painful memory to get there. Then comes calm on command. You learn to shift your body out of fight or flight mode on demand. So you have felt a sense of safety you can create yourself anytime. Next, we rewire the alarm. This is the heart of it. Through clinical hypnosis, we reach the subconscious threat response directly and replace the old panic pattern with a new default of calm. Finally, the result is you reclaim your life. You walk back into the situation fear stole from you with your new tools, collecting real-world proof that you are safe until confidence replaces avoidance for good. Does that make sense? Do you see why the nervous system reset works when anything else doesn't? So let me tell you about another client. This client's name was Roger. So Roger was just overwhelmed with stress, overwhelmed with anxiety. He had spent many years in therapy. And even when I talked to him, he couldn't really kind of tell me what the anxiety was about. It was about everything. It was about money. It was about relationships. It was about work. It was about relationships. So the anxiety had just permeated his entire being, and every single branch coming out was affected by this. And he spent, again, years in therapy. He had done medication, benzodiazepines, which are anti-anxiety medications, and it just struggled for him. So when he showed up, he was pretty hopeless. In fact, I think one of the first things he said in our first session was, "I don't even know why I'm here. It doesn't work. I've tried this so many times before." I walked him through the nervous system reset, and almost immediately, things began to change for him. Almost right away, he noticed the panic that used to hijack his morning simply didn't show up the way it used to. And today, long term, he is in a very functional, healthy relationship with family, children, friends, work. He is able to function. He is able to go out every day and honestly expresses to me that he doesn't even think about anxiety most of the time. It doesn't even cross his mind. So here's the bottom line: breathing apps, years of therapy, self-help books, all of these things are good in their own ways, but they don't resolve the underlying issue. They don't stop the panic. They just treat the symptoms. They never touch the subconscious alarm that's actually firing. The nervous system reset is the only approach that lets you quiet the panic, walk into what used to terrify you, and trust your own body again, without avoidance, without dependence on coping skills or tricks in your pocket, without believing you'll be managing this for the rest of your life. But you know what? Just stopping the panic isn't enough, because you could get rid of every symptom and still be living small. still not trusting yourself, still waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that brings me to the next shift, which is to become your own source of calm. Now, what does that mean? The simple truth is that just getting rid of the panic isn't enough. What really counts, what you actually want, is to become your own source of calm and resilience, to trust your own mind and body so completely that you're no longer waiting for the next attack, no longer bearing down and hoping something doesn't happen, no longer needing anyone or anything to come and rescue you. And that's exactly why things like medication alone and endless coping tricks fall in the long run. They might quiet a symptom for a while, but they never hand you back your self-trust. In fact, they often teach you that you can't cope without something else or someone else. So let's talk about how to build the real thing. Let me tell you about another client who came. I had a client who was, we'll call her Sally. Sally came in and was terrified of flying. She had been on a plane, had a terrible panic attack on the plane, and this scarred her. And this incident happened probably close to 20 years ago. And Sally herself is probably in her mid-50s. So since that time, she had skipped every single family vacation that involved flying. She has avoided any kind of activity that would even take her near an airport. She couldn't watch movies that had anything to do with airplanes. It was that severe for her. And she just couldn't get it. Underneath, she wanted something bigger. She wanted to be able to be with her family, to be present, to enjoy these trips, to see other places, to be with her family. So here's what we did. We just started on this nervous system reset, and it just didn't quiet her symptoms. But what we did is we built her trust in herself, because retraining her alarm and proving in the real world that she could handle it is what made her her own source of calm, something no pill, no coping skill, no other person could ever give her. Today, she is flying. She's taking family trips 2 and 3 times a year. She's saying yes. She's becoming excited about these trips. And she's doing this all without an escape plan, without a coping crutch, without any part of her still believing she is broken. And here's the bottom line. Without self-trust, symptom relief doesn't mean much. In fact, if you get one without the other, some quiet part of you will keep bracing for the fall and eventually sabotage the very calm you fought for. But when you have both, you wake up steady in your own body, you move through uncertainty without flinching, and you finally get to be the fullest, most present version of yourself, not just for your own self, but for your family, for your work, and for everybody else you come in contact with. Here's shift number 5, and this is super important. All of these are important, and we have to do all of them. This is a good one. Invest in mentoring. Everyone who wants to break free from anxiety for good should have a guide. A great one brings 2 things you cannot manufacture alone: strategy and accountability. There are new ideas in your head right now that wouldn't be there if you hadn't made time to listen to this class. And I hope you can see that what most people are doing, the apps, the endless talk therapy, the white-knuckling, is the wrong way to do things if you want to actually break free. Here's a harsh truth. Most people never break free from their anxiety. They try an app, a book here, sessions, and then their life gets busy, the panic comes back, avoidance creeps in, and they quietly resign themselves to being, we're back to what normal is. This is just what my life is. Great mentoring is what prevents this. If you want to maximize your chances of permanently silencing that anxiety, of permanently silencing that alarm that keeps going off, unfitting situations, you need the strategy and the accountability that only a guide and a mentor who has walked hundreds of people through this can bring. And here you have that mentor. So now you have a choice. You can keep desperately working through breathing exercises and hoping the next app is the one. You can keep looking at self-help books and finding gurus and trying to follow their methods. And in the meantime, you continue to do these things while your world gets smaller every month. You can keep managing and coping and avoiding and eventually resign yourself to a life half lived, always one panic attack away from your next retreat. Or if you're done with all of that and you're ready to feel safe in your own body, reclaim what fear has taken and become your own source of calm in the next 12 weeks without white knuckling ever again. Here's what I have for you. My team and I have set aside some time in the next 48 hours to do a free nervous system assessment of your situation. I want to figure out whether it's truly possible for you to break free from panic and the fastest, safest way to get there. Whatever your biggest challenge is, the panic that won't quit, the avoidance that's taking over, the fear, we've seen it and we know how to help you overcome it. Book a call using the form below. We'll jump on a Zoom call for 30 minutes and we'll talk, and I will help you resolve as many problems as we can right there on this call. I'll show you how to stop the daily dread and the mental body scans that steal your mornings, exactly how to quiet the panic before it takes over, pinpoint why your nervous system keeps sounding the alarm when there's no real danger, and identify exactly how you can break free from anxiety in the next 12 weeks, starting today. We'll pinpoint the exact thing that's keeping you stuck, and I'm going to show you the next steps to solve it once and for all. The cost, you ask? Absolutely free. I'd like to do consultation calls because here's the thing. This program is not for everyone. You must be a motivated adult who's genuinely ready to do the retraining work, not someone chasing a magic pill or a one-session fix, but someone ready to practice the tools and face the fear with guidance. You need to be ready to change, and you have to have a desire to change. This isn't easy, but nothing worth anything ever is easy. You've spent years developing this out-of-control alarm. It is going to take time and effort to get it retrained. You must be serious about breaking free from your anxiety and willing to invest what it takes to get there. If that's you, I want to work with you. Use the form under this video and book your nervous system assessment call now. Use the form, get with us, and we'll get you scheduled. Now, here's the thing, spaces are limited. I try to work with as a few clients as I can. Typically, we limit our class size to 5 or 10, just so that we're giving attention to everybody who wants it. Here's the last thought I want to leave you with. It really is possible to live free from anxiety, to trust your own mind and body again, and to reclaim the life fear has been quietly taking from you. But it won't happen by itself. You need to take action. Action takers get rewarded. Book that call today. Let us help you. I am David R. Wright, the Motor City Hypnotist. I want to thank you for joining me today. Book that call, and I look forward to working with you to transform your life. We'll talk soon. Cheers, my friends.